What is going on, Sports Card Fiends? We are back again with episode 2 of Sports Card Corner. The host today, or as always, myself, Alec, at Cutting Edge Cards on Instagram with no G in the cutting. And then we also have Caleb, or Caleb_sports_cards on Insta. How you doing, Caleb?
Hey, I can't complain. Pretty excited to talk about some sports cards. You know what it is.
Oh yeah, another day in the sports card world. We've been talking a lot today, going ham on some eBay purchases. Figure we'll give the card a little break for a bit, huh?
Yeah. We got on a little hot streak there. Hey, look at this. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'll buy that. Oh, hey, look at this. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'll buy that.
Oh yeah, we just hop in the Discord, throw around 50 links, and next thing you know, we're hurting. But at the end of the day, it's for the better, so we'll be doing good.
Yeah, the short term, the wallet hates us. Long term, the wallet really likes us. So.
Oh yeah, we'll get to talking about what all we got going on in terms of that in a little bit. Yeah. As far as where we're going to start, it's kind of the main sport, I guess, going on in the American zeitgeist, and that is the state of the bubble, or the NBA bubble overall. Just rounding off into playoff form, seeing where all these teams are going to end up and where we're going to go from there. As far as what I think is the biggest news out of the bubble is the Pelicans, or the Pelicans, having an absolutely horrid run. What do you think of their performance?
I mean, it was tough for them, obviously. They looked bad. Brandon Ingram looked okay, but, man, Lonzo Ball looked absolutely terrible coming into the bubble. The light got on him, and yikes, it was bad. So that's definitely tough. And Zion, obviously, him not being able to play as much, like, that sucks for all the Pelicans fans, or all those hype beasts out there that were really excited to see Zion play. I mean, I was excited to see Zion play as well too. Mm-hmm. Just couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree. It's disappointing to see him go out at this point. I mean, in theory, I guess these playing games were basically made for the Pelicans. Like, that's what everyone was saying at the beginning.
Yeah, they had really good odds, like, of getting into the playoffs, like, before the bubble started. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, who cares about them? I mean, I kind of forgot about them. I was really, intrigued by the Phoenix Suns. They were the most fun team to watch in the bubble.
Oh yeah, bubble champs right there.
Yeah, 8-0, baby.
No one else is going undefeated in the bubble.
Nope, and never will again. So. Yeah, Phoenix should hang a banner for that.
A banner for the banger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, definitely disappointed in the Pelicans overall. I mean, I kind of understood some of the hype Lonzo was getting just for a little bit. Like, his jumper was obviously, looking to improve, but granted where it started out at. I mean, if it's not improving, then, I don't know what you're doing at that point. And then, Zion, we talk about Zion all the time, and we'll continue to talk about it. I mean, as far as card prices, not great. And as far as, like, the long-term outlook on it, I didn't see anything out of the bubble that was, cementing in my mind that it's a good outlook. Would you agree? I mean,
yeah, obviously playing would have been that would have helped the outlook a lot more.
Playing 30 minutes.
Yeah, which he can't seem to do. Which was obviously the worry coming in. Remember all those hype pictures too? Like, they were taking pictures like he slimmed down a little bit, see he's going to be fine. But then he didn't. He still kind of looks like his heavier set self. The dude needs he has to lose 20 pounds. Like, it's a must for him. If he cannot, obviously New Orleans isn't the best place to do that. They got a lot of really good food there. So I definitely get how that would be tough. And I don't think I'd be able to lose that 20 pounds. But
oh yeah, being a big boy, I'm sure he's enjoying himself a little bit too much. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, even if you can play with that on, it doesn't seem to be the long-term ideal fit for him to have that extra 30. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I don't know how I like the outlook of that. As far as something I'm kind of interested in, the outlook going forward are the Toronto Raptors. Overall, I think they're a little undervalued.
Champs.
Yeah, I mean, defending champs. No one really thinks of them like that. Everyone just kind of brushes it off. Obviously, they got a bit lucky along the way, but I think they're a little undervalued. And the way that I just kind of get to that is, if you try and think of who's going to beat them, it's not really clear cut. What do you think in terms of that?
I mean, obviously, I really like them. Kyle Lowry's been good and been able to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. multiple times in his career. Pascal Siakam really took a step up. I mean, the Warriors, Steph Curry, they took it to 6 games. We're still giving him grief, even when it was just Steph and nobody else. But he really stepped up, and Kyle Lowry hit some pretty clutch shots there too at the end. I think they're going to be a good team, and they're deep too. I mean, they got a lot of players, obviously, just besides those two. That they can really play some basketball. Obviously, Van Vliet's super nice, and didn't he put up his career high in the bubble? I think he did.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
they just have defenders that can throw at you everywhere too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Van Vliet's pretty decent at it, and I'm totally blanking on all of their names at this point. I've watched them a ton.
They got a ton of boys going out there. They got a deep bench, so it's understandable. As far as teams that you think would be the most likely to beat them, what's the team in your mind?
Nick Nurse is a really good coach. So, I always look to good coaches in the playoffs. Nick Nurse is he proved that he's pretty nice. But I think Brad Stevens with the Celtics, they look obviously very good. They have a lot of different scoring options. That's just something that's so huge in the playoffs is somebody's going to be off, and it's a 7-game series, somebody needs to be on, and I think they have the most weapons of anybody in the East to go off. We've seen Gordon Hayward lead the team in points, Jason Tatum lead the team in points, Jaylen Brown lead the team in points. So that's just really nice when they have 4 solid good scoring options that I think that they'll be pretty deadly with that.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, in terms of who I think could beat the Raptors, I mean, everyone's default answer would probably be the Bucks, but at the end of the day, just Giannis in playoff time, like we talk about it, and we'll continue to rag on it, I guess, until something happens. Yeah, I mean, and you see that headbutt too?
I think people forget last year too, before, because they made the conference finals, right? But it was in the conference finals. I think he fouled out, and he fouled out multiple times last year in the playoff run too. And so that's a real danger for him. So, yeah,
and get to be a little too much defensively. Get the moment getting to you.
And I think too the Raptors again, they have a lot of tall, big, lanky guys that can really guard Giannis well. And again, just with scoring options, they hit any of those. They hit the Raptors or they hit the Celtics. If you can shut down Giannis to only have 28 points and, Chris Middleton's not on, which we've seen him, not always score 20 points. Who else is going to score that for the Bucks, Yeah,
that's really where you end up at. I mean, if you can – and that – you could say that about any team, but especially with the Bucks, they just don't have a ton of options to go to, and they rely pretty heavily on Giannis throughout the season. And if you identify that and absolutely try your heart out for 7 games in a row where you're getting more and more used to that and how you're going to move defensively to help over on Giannis, then I think it just ends up pretty poorly for them.
I really, I like the Lopez brothers, and they've looked really nice in this bubble. But, man, just again, the Raptors are the best, one of the best inside Ds in the NBA. So
yeah, I think that's really just where they're undervalued as defensively. On offense, I don't think anyone rates them too highly. But yeah, I agree with you. At the end of it, I think that the Celtics probably do give them the best series overall, and I wish that the Bucks could do better, but I just don't think it's in them. So. Getting on and away from, I guess, the East entirely, because I don't know. I think we kind of just covered the East right there. Yeah. We can move away from that series and talk about essentially 4 series overall that we are most looking forward to going into the playoffs. I have 2 and Caleb has 2. You want to go ahead with your first one that you're pretty pumped to see?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Heat versus Pacers, the 4-5 matchup. I think that's going to be really fun. I really don't know who's going to win, so I think that's why it's such a blast. It really feels like a whole new basketball season. The Suns, while they had been climbing, they really felt like a different team. And the Pacers have looked like a different team too. Obviously TJ Warren has been the real story of the bubble with playing so well for the Pacers. I'm really excited to see that matchup. I think that the Heat Pacers is probably going to go 6-7 games. And so I'm pretty excited. I like Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, and the Pacers have key bench player Doug McDermott. As a Creighton fan, it's always it's exciting. So.
Got to root for the homie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see. They have a game today, but they're not really. Neither team's really trying. That's a problem with the last day of the bubble, I guess. Is essentially there's no games that really mean anything. So just kind of hanging out here doing nothing. But it'll be fun to see the TJ and Jimmy stand. I guess Is there any TJ Warren stands? Probably not. But
No.
Seeing those two audiences clash on Twitter, I see just so many Heat fans just with Jimmy Butler memes all over the place whenever TJ Warren goes off. So. It'll be fun to see if, they actually shut down TJ and just, I guess, then probably shut down the Pacers because they haven't been doing too much outside of him. As far as what I've been looking forward to, I mean, the first round matchups are always a little difficult because you're never really going to get ones that are too crazy. One that could kind of be mentioned is OKC Houston, just for the storyline of obviously players being traded between them and now playing. That's enjoyable. But as a series and as two teams, I literally do not care. So, honorable mention there. But really what I'm looking forward to is the Lakers and the Trailblazers. But Lakers-Blazers is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really think the Blazers have too much of a shot, but just seeing what Dame can do, and I guess the combo of Dame and CJ against the lack.
You don't think the Blazers have a shot?
I mean...
They made the Western Conference Finals last year.
No, that's fair. I guess... I don't know. I'm a LeBron stan, so I default LeBron. But
I don't know. I mean, I think this could be. This is one of the toughest matchups. I think this is if they do play Portland, I'd be really scared as a Lakers fan. Man, Gary Trent Jr. He just looked different outside. This year. I mean, obviously, Carmelo wasn't that much of an ad, but Nurkic, and
Nurkic and
CJ McCollum, and obviously we know Damian Lillard. Nobody's seen him because he usually gets bounced first or second round by Steph Curry. But when they didn't fall on the Warriors side of the bracket, they made it to the conference finals last year. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really good matchup, and I think LeBron's going to get a tough welcome into the Western Conference playoffs. Not saying that they won't win, but.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm all for a good series, I guess. I would love to see a nice competitive 1-8 matchup, but yeah, I probably underestimate it. I guess at the end of the day, honestly, the Lakers have essentially no guard defense, so it's just
you're gonna have Alex Caruso on Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum.
It is gonna be tough, and I don't know. Did you see you might not have, but the Trailblazers Nets game yesterday? Dame went off again.
Yeah, I watched that game. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah, it was disgusting. It was.
Well, he dropped 61
awesome.
The game before as well.
Yeah, it's been quite a show to watch. So I guess that is essentially what I'm looking forward to. Is just the Dame show. Nothing else really matters, which is kind of crazy because obviously LeBron and AD are in the series. But I just think that what they're gonna give you is pretty consistent and not anything awe-inspiring like something you'd see from Dame. So that's why I'm excited for the 1-8 in the West. In terms of what your second most, well, I guess they're not really ranked, but your second enjoyable series, what are you looking towards?
Yeah, I'm excited for Boston Philly again. Just a really good first round matchup. I think it's exciting. The Philadelphia 76ers almost made the finals last year. It was Kawhi Leonard's amazing shot in Game 7 that pushed the Raptors past. They're still a good team. I mean, obviously they don't have Jimmy Butler this year, but Joel Embiid's still really exciting and fun to watch. And
got Al Horford.
Yeah, they got Al Horford instead. I mean, Celtics.
What a storyline. I'm sure that'll play.
What a flip flop. Poor Al. But I still think it'll be a good, fun matchup. Man, I just love playoff basketball, and it's always fun when you got two good teams.
No, yeah, like you were saying earlier, Celtics definitely might have the best shot to derail Toronto. So being able to see what Tatum and the not newly emerging, but continually emerging Jaylen Brown can do, that'd be exciting. I want to see where both of those guys can go, honestly.
Same. Hey, speaking of which, Doug McDermott had the game high 23 points and led Indiana today. Let's go.
Wow. Well, I guess that's what happens when you don't play TJ Warren or people
Hype.
start getting the ball, send it to the bench.
Oh, that's great. Top of the stat sheet. I'm jazzed. Let's go.
Well, speaking of Jazz, we'll head out to the West for my second Western Conference series that I'm looking forward to. Not actually the Jazz. That just like I don't care about the Jazz matchup. That's not going to be entertaining. Instead, be looking at the Mavs and Clippers, which honestly it's very strange because both of the two most exciting series I have on here are the 1 and the 8 and the 2 and the 7. What would you say? Would you give the Blazers a better shot to beat the Lakers or the Mavs to beat the Clippers?
I'd probably just with how the Portland's been playing right now, I'd probably give Portland a better chance.
Yeah, I think I would too, which, I mean, given how dismissive I was, probably means I'm even that much more dismissive towards the Mavs. Just because the Mavs are 0-3 on the season against the Clippers, and once you have that type of intense defense from PG and Kawhi, I don't think that Luke is going to be as useful. I think there's going to be a lot more turnovers and, start to kind of throw him off. And I don't think that while Kristaps may be the type of guy to put up some big numbers and have it.
He's looked really good in the bubble, but yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know if he can. If you're leaning on him to win you a series, essentially after they kind of take out Luka, I don't know. I mean, and then you got Tim Hardaway Jr., my Michigan pride and joy, hanging out in that series. So definitely going to be keeping an eye on him. Maybe they'll have to step up, which is not a good thing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see basically Luka's ceiling and how good he can be and how far he could carry the Mavs in a series against the Clippers. I mean, if he takes it 6 and is pretty productive in most of those games, I think that alone is a win and really what I am just looking to see.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think Clippers are probably, in most people's minds, the favorite to win the championship, right?
I think odds-wise the Lakers are slight, but Clippers are close. Very close.
Yeah, but Montrezl Harrell, he's out for the whole thing, right? Or is he back? I can't remember.
I think he's back.
See, because when Lou Williams and Harrell come back, who looked really, really nice, I don't know. I feel like the Clippers just have it's really nice, and especially defensively. I mean, that's a really nice squad. But I'll be really excited. Yeah, Luka's been amazing. He's had a couple really nice triple doubles here. He had that 36, 19, and 12 game. Come on, that's just disgusting. He's really fun and really excited to see him. This is his first year in the playoffs, so
yeah, actually get to see what he can do on a big stage.
So that's gonna be fun.
With Montrez, it said he'll actually be there they're hoping he'll be back for the beginning of the playoffs. So just right on the brink of returning. So that'll be a nice little boost for the Clips. But that is essentially it as far as our basketball coverage is going to be. We'll obviously talk a little bit more going forward when we talk about hot players of the week and maybe who we're picking, who we're ditching. So we will return to basketball, but for now, move on over to soccer for a little bit. Usually we do the U.S. men's national team report and kind of what's going on there. But soccer right now, not a whole lot going on. We do have Tyler Adams getting a deflected goal to seal the Champions League win. So that was pretty exciting. I honestly couldn't really believe it. I didn't really he hadn't scored yet for Leipzig, so seeing that happen was
anyway.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, kind of playing in on the wing, but you're never going to get the opportunities you want, I guess, if you're owning someone's card. Because at the end of the day, goal scoring is very important towards card prices in soccer because it's one of the few things that, an actual casual person could see. Yeah, you can tell a goal's a goal. There's not much else going on there. But, I mean, just seeing that was absolutely elating. Granted, I didn't really even want Leipzig to go through, but if they had to go through, that is definitely the way I would have preferred it. So who would have thought, instead of Pulisic being our man that's scoring in Champions League quarterfinals, it's Tyler Adams.
Well, if Pulisic would have played 100%, he would have absolutely he would have scored a lot. Bayern Munich wouldn't have had a chance.
Yeah, they ran into the freight train, though, after the Bayern destroyed them and 8-2 today against Barca, just destroying everyone. It was fun to see for the beginning, but after 30 minutes of it, I'm like, all right, I've seen enough.
Yeah, Mueller putting it in. I'm good.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited though. Going forward, we kind of saw his prices just go crazy. You said you were kind of looking at him whenever he had scored the goal, and just kind of all the cards were flying off the shelves, right?
Yeah, the second he scored the goal, I went on eBay. I was just looking. I wasn't really, again, he's a defender. Not really that exciting. I know his cards kind of have a ceiling. Obviously, again, really exciting. He's playing in the Champions League and scored. That's a huge thing. But there was like 5 listed on eBay, and I watched them all sell within like a minute and a half after that goal. So, yeah, people were definitely very excited about it.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, this guy's from the United States. I'm going to buy this. So...
yeah, that's the American bump you'll get. I saw a couple like Instagram posts about kind of his prices that almost like tripling essentially in like one goal. and while that's cool and all, at the end of the day, it shows you how crazy the soccer market can be, especially related to USMNT's national team players, because they're just going to get all the hype of all of the casual card collectors here in the U.S. So maybe unjustified relative to their status in the world, but relative to their status in card collecting, I guess it's what the market determines, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's just
it's what Americans care about, and Americans care about collecting sports cards. So they put 2 and 2 together,
Yeah, no doubt. And at the end of the day, a lot of the reason that we're kind of big on soccer is just the pop counts are not where they need to be for the theoretical or even kind of somewhat practical soccer following that is in the United States right now. So kind of more in line with that as far as where you could go in the future. We'll talk about some leagues that are starting up, and if you know which players are in those leagues, obviously you kind of get a good sense. Majority of the U.S. men's national team is hanging out in Germany in the Bundesliga, but to start, kind of someone I've been high with has been Timothy Weah. I think, he has all the potential in the world. If you see someone like Tyler Adams going up double or triple off of scoring 1 goal, the things that this man could do in League One is pretty immense. And just, I feel like as soon as you start seeing some Instagram or Twitter highlights of him, he'll start popping, right? That's about all it takes.
The second anybody starts scoring goals, especially, college football now announcing it's going to be pretty much gone. It's kind of split 50-50. There's just going to be open free time for Americans to watch sports. Like, they're going to want to fill it somehow, and especially even for me, it's been I've been feeling it with watching some soccer. So like with the Premier League kicking back up in 6 weeks and Christian Pulisic coming back, like, that's going to be pretty nice. And obviously Timothy Weah, he's got some nice highlights, and like obviously he's got some provenance too with his dad being as good as he was. Like, that's really exciting.
Yeah, a little bit more recognition overall. In terms of why we're bullish on soccer is just essentially like a lot of basketball money probably going to be flowing on over into here. Realistically, the 2 main places it's going to go, it's not really going to go baseball, I wouldn't imagine, right? Would you agree?
I feel like the people that are already in baseball is like, it's just there. Like, if you buy baseball cards, like it's a very established market for what, like 100 years. Almost.
Yeah, I have a few baseball cards that are just kind of decent cards that I've held on to, honestly, for a while at this point. And they haven't seen anywhere near the bumps that we see elsewhere, so I just feel like that's kind of a market of its own. Yeah. But in terms of where that basketball money is going to go, you got to understand that basketball is a decent bit just hype beast, kind of young people type thing. So it's going to definitely trend younger, which I think favors soccer more than football. Granted, at the end of the day, maybe still a lot of money, I'm sure, is going into football. But it's either going to be soccer or football, and I think soccer is just kind of underrated from the general person's point of view. They're not really that into it yet. So I think there's a lot of potential there.
Soccer players are just so much more marketable. You see their face, you see their reactions, you feel a lot more personal than, a football team where, again, they got helmets, visors, pads on. You can't see them as well. Like, it's just, unless they're a quarterback, like, it's just tough.
Yeah, and that's always kind of the rationale as to why, NBA is that much more exciting. And also, whenever this money kind of flows either into football or into soccer, with football, I mean, there's opportunity for position players to start going up, like wide receivers and defenders. But at the end of the day, it seems like it's just going to stay in quarterbacks, and those quarterbacks can only get so expensive till the point where people are like, all right, this is kind of weird. And then at that point, I feel like soccer is just the natural transition for people that aren't inclined by football, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think soccer. It seems like the play. Obviously speculators are going into it a lot, but also at the same time, speculator markets can work just fine as well. And I think people are just really excited about soccer, especially in the U.S., but not just there. Like, it's a worldwide sport where the most, Pablo and Pablo. Alec and I have been.
Yeah. My nickname's Pablo for those that don't know. Yeah. Might slip out every now and then.
Yeah. So Alec and I, we've been buying a lot of cards, and it's not just from the U.S. We're buying it from Italy, from Russia, Brazil, Portugal. Like, that's what's fun about it, is there's a lot of people who care, and it's a worldwide sport that is really just going to grow. So. In the United States, it's already huge in the rest of the world, but it's exciting that
there's
it's
a lot
growing
of room
here.
To grow here. Yeah, exactly.
There's some interest, so yeah.
And that's the thing, like looking on eBay, where you can buy these cards from a lot are overseas, which is good because that means it hasn't. If everyone had them here, then I would be kind of worried that people have already stocked up. But it still seems like there's plenty of supply elsewhere that people haven't realized the potential of yet. So. Definitely enjoyable there. In terms of like what we're looking forward to, it's basically just season restarts. Like, obviously the Champions League's going on, but if you're investing in like Champions League, people right now might not be the greatest of times. In terms of when the leagues kick off, League One starts off in 2 weeks. So Timothy Weah, again, like we were mentioning, that probably the time to get in now. Even though there's like barely any supply. I've been looking for like 4 months. I lose my mind. But that kicks off in 2 weeks. You got La Liga coming back in 4 to 5 weeks. So not as many Americans there, but if you're interested in a lot of young talent, there's definitely a lot that stems there. And then finally, the Bundesliga, kind of the American crop that plays over there quite a lot. Josh Sargent, Weston McKennie, I think, is still might be transferring, but just staying in the Bundesliga, so that's nice. And then, Gio Reyna, and tons of other guys. I mean, it's quite a league to get into if you're looking to follow some U.S. men's national team talent. So it's kind of the lineup for the restart. One thing we have been looking a lot towards is Messi and Ronaldo stickers, and Caleb, you kind of want to talk about what we've been looking for there and where that stems from?
I mean, obviously, as people are going to come and filter in, us being the dumb Americans that we are, like, I mean, not really. Pablo follows soccer a lot more than I do. This is most speed to myself. When you think of soccer, you think most Americans are going to be able to name like Pele, Messi, and Ronaldo, so... Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's where I kind of was looking at first, and in playing in FIFA too, like trying to pack like Ronaldo or Messi, like and Neymar back in the day was a lot of fun. Wasting a lot of virtual currency. EA making a lot of money off me, so it's also satisfying that way, I guess. Some dreams fulfilled.
Yeah, actually be able to own some of these cards.
Yeah, exactly. So. And World Cups that's for a lot of Americans, that's when we really care or pay attention, is a giant championship that only happens every 4 years. It definitely feels like it's like the Olympics, a really special event. And I remember watching this and growing up as a kid. So, a lot of you saw 2014 Prizms have just been going dumb. And we'll talk about that more later. But so I was like, man, all the World Cup stuff is really, really neat. So. We've been scooping up pretty much every from 2006, which is Messi and Ronaldo's first World Cup, all the way to 2018, and I'm definitely excited to do it again. It was supposed to be in 2020, but now it'll be in 2021, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, start getting some Euros then. And then we got got the stickers in 2020. That's a nice part as far as the soccer market goes. You got the hype for the Euros next year, and then you got the hype for the World Cup the year after that. So it's just going to be a 1-2 hit that'll just be a joy to be a part of.
I meant the Olympics. The Olympics were supposed to be this year.
I gotcha.
Yeah, the Olympics were supposed to be this year, but now they're next year.
Then you add that into the mix. I mean,
oh, I know it's very tasty. Like there's a lot of relevance coming in. Like soccer is definitely, it will be in a lot of people's minds as ESPN's going to start covering more and more.
Yeah, they have a lot of rights in soccer at this point.
Yeah, exactly, because American players are going to be in there, so that's going to bring up the interest. And once we play in the Olympics, and we start doing all the qualification games for the World Cup and everything like that, we're going to really start rolling on some big excitement for the United States, USMNT, baby.
Yeah, big excitement for the team and big excitement for our cards, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the Messi Ronaldos that we're kind of looking for, just World Cups, Euros as well. That 2004 Ronaldo Euro is pretty sick. But just kind of those stickers all around, honestly, when you go back and look at, legends, like absolute legends in the sport, and look at their World Cup stickers and whatnot. Obviously not the same pop back then, but at the same time, there's a lot of hype right now for cards. So a lot of these people that will eventually come back into cards down the line will think back to Ronaldo and Messi. And I mean, I just don't see how those World Cup stickers between anywhere from $2 to $15 to $50, depending on the World Cups and whatnot. I just feel like that's a pretty solid buy, especially when you compare it to, like we were talking, the Prizm hype, which has just been absurd. But I mean, it's good for soccer cards overall, so I'm not mad at it. But
yeah, exactly. If that gets people in, and again, that's just for any person who's like getting into it, it's like, well, that's already blown up, but where can I go next? A lot the natural fit is to go again these sticker cards, which Europe really cares about. Like you're gonna notice if you do go search these up, like it's going to ask you, like, again, it's going to be from Portugal, Spain, Italy. Like,
a lot of international going on there.
Because that's what they care about, and so that's only going to raise the prices, too, because they're also collecting it in other parts of the world. So,
I definitely agree. And, I mean, at the end of the day, even if you can't afford, even the people, like, there will be people put off of the Prizms because they can't afford them, and then there will also be people that are put off because it's a 10th year card. And when you compare these cards to, if you compare a Messi Prizm to a Messi rookie card, like they're not that different, which is just crazy.
Silly.
But, again, like you said, Prizm is basically the gateway into the rest of the soccer card realm. So I feel like this is where people are just dipping their toes, and then eventually they'll move on to other things. And it's not that hard to find stickers. Like I know stickers to some people may be like hard to figure out, but essentially if you look up someone's rookie year, there'll probably be 3 or 4 stickers there. You decide which ones you like the best, maybe look up some pop counts, and you got an idea of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not too crazy. I think even the Prizm heads can figure that out,
Yeah, and I think for now it's just like, the people that were just jumping into it, they really only were seeing the Prizm numbers. And a lot of this stuff was really cheap, because, they were stickers. But people will start to realize there's literally nothing else. There's no other cards. It's not like basketball where there's Donruss Elite, Tops. Like, you're not Tops, but, like a million different lineup of Panini cards for every single year. If you go to soccer, there is, like, Adrenaline, which is the low-end stuff, and then stickers for big soccer events. And that's pretty much it until 2015, where they made Donruss for the first time. And then Select, and then not till the next year, or they made Select, and then Topps Chrome came in 2017-18. So, like, there's barely any products before 2015. It's the sticker cards, and that's pretty much it. So, and a bunch of foreign cards. So,
definitely a reason to be high on the earlier cards, like pre-2015. But even then, like, essentially just trying to figure out where these Prizm heads will end up going. I think that, any stickers pre, 2014, and even depending on what you get then, you might be fine. But pre-2014, you're just going to be able to get stickers that aren't that high pop, and that people, it'll take them a little time to figure out, so you might have time to get in now. And in addition to that, like Optic, Donruss, Select, there's still undervalued sets of cards post Prizm that are still just kind of at the depths of their prices and just have room to grow once these people are kind of outpriced a Prizm. So
yeah, I mean, like, too, like you want Mbappe, who won in 2018, obviously really cool. Like, Prizms are way too much for you. Just go get the optic card. Like, it's still the first year optic for soccer. Like, that 2018 is the first time it was optic for soccer. Like, that's still really cool. And he still won the World Cup that year, like, just because it doesn't say World Cup on it. Or go get a sticker card, which is, infinitely cheaper than the Prizm card.
The Prizm card from the same year. It's like,
Yeah.
man, it's definitely the play. I do agree, and that's probably where we'll wrap up a little bit of this soccer talk. I mean, overall, just a lot going on in soccer, and as fast as you can research what's going on, that's as fast as these cards are going. So it's pretty exciting just to see going forward and where this can all go. In terms of the NFL, we were going to kind of touch on positional players and their potential, but we already kind of did that. I don't really feel like it's that large, and we'll kind of just blow by that like I feel most people will. It's basically quarterbacks are bust at this point, and that's okay. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. It's just hard to market NFL players. So
yeah, unless you like really believe, like, I don't know, maybe some of the Chiefs guys, if they win a bunch, like, they can be worth something. Like, the only time positional players are really worth something is like dynasties, like Jerry Rice is, because he was Jerry Rice, or Barry Sanders, I guess, because he's so good.
That's the thing, and kind of with the NFL, more team oriented, so makes sense. People would enjoy it more then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be it as far as kind of rounding off what's going on in the news of sports. So managed to scrape up the money again to plug our Instagrams. As far as mine, it is at Cutting Edge Cards on Instagram, no G in the cutting. And then as far as Caleb, he is at Caleb_sports_cards on Insta. And over there we post pictures basically daily of a nice little card that we got hanging around or whatever's going on in our collection, and throw a little thing on the story every now and then, just throwing out our sports talk. And eventually there will be some clips of the pod and whatnot over there, so feel free to give that a follow. Working on getting the pod to more places as well. Should be on Spotify here soon, and Apple in the distant future. They kind of take a little while to get back to me, and also their website's all messed up. It keeps running me in a circle, and I'm not going to do it anymore. So eventually on Apple, Google should be coming, and then Spotify as well. So look towards the Instagrams, and if you got any pod players that you like, should be on there soon. Getting into the Rising Stocks players, last week we had a lot of Rising Stocks players, but that was kind of because we hadn't done a pod ever, so we got a lot going on. This week we got about 4 players, and they are all basketball, because that's essentially what's going on. There's some Champions League stuff going on right now, but I mean, you're not going to see too much of a jump in that. Basketball is where the real fire has been. So as far as our number one guy, I feel like it's pretty easy to guess, but probably the highest rising stock of the week's Damian Lillard, right?
Oh, 100%. It's Dame time, baby. I mean, I think the nice thing about Damian Lillard, besides the fact that obviously he's been extremely good at basketball and is having a great bubble, is he is a fun personality. Like, with the State Farm commercials, with him dropping dimes, he likes to rap. Like, he's a fun figure. He's got an awesome, fourth quarter celebration. He likes to, he's got the awesome. He's a combo as, not as much anymore, but like, he could, especially earlier in the career, a lot of high flying dunks and stuff, and he also can shoot really well. So he's got a nice lot of highlights.
Pulling up from everywhere.
Exactly. The only thing he's really missing is a ring at this point, going or at least going to the finals. He's made it to the Western Conference last year for the first time, but I don't know. What do you think? Would you be buying right now, or would you be holding on and wait until next year?
That's the tough part. I mean, we'll do our price projections on all these guys, because it's obviously important. We want to incorporate the cards into the news of the NBA and other sports. But I mean, as far as like almost all of these basketball guys, I'm not really looking to buy right now, especially with Dame. I mean, we compared it last week, and honestly, his prices didn't look that bad. But that was like assuming that there was real supply. There wasn't really that much supply going on. And even then, they're still crazy expensive to think what Dame was, because last week we compared Dame to AI, and Dame just isn't the cultural figure. So to think like if you got stuck on a dip and you sat it out, I don't know if long term you're seeing the bounce back. So I would not be buying by any means right now. I mean, in terms of where Dame could get, the only thing that could really make it pop is if they beat the Lakers, and like even like you really
That's a
asking
big gamble, yeah.
decent bit then. So yeah, to buy a card and then also pay the tax on it, to then sell it and also take a percent off of it, like it just doesn't seem like a worthwhile bet. So not really on Dame right now, although I guess in the offseason, if you see a nice dip that you like, obviously he showed all the ability to be able to get a huge bump in the future. So I wouldn't kill you for it.
Yeah, no. And now number 2 is actually, it's at least getting kind of interesting for him because Devin Booker, they just lost, they're out, they're gone.
Yeah, there we go.
And maybe right now isn't the time, but like, do you think I think at some point this summer he is going to probably drop down a little bit, if you care,
Yeah, if you're into that. I mean, I definitely think that there is room to grow there, and kind of like what I say with most of these basketball guys, I would just wait it out, because it's going to be, for most of these guys, 4 or 5 months at least until the season kicks back off, and then there'll be hype going into the season, but then it's still another 5 more months to get to the playoffs. So like, I definitely am a fan of waiting it out and buying on a dip if you see it in the summer, because obviously Devin Booker's shown a ton of talent, and the prospect of getting out of Phoenix could also be able to build some hype for his card. So I definitely think a dip would be a good place to start, but you just got to follow it and find it, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's at least he's interesting. When he scored those 70 points, I was like, they were really padding the stats when you're watching the game, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, in the bubble, at least he's shown he's able to win games, which was the biggest question mark in my mind. Could he win games when it mattered? And, he showed, that he could, that he did literally everything he could to try to get his team into the playoffs for the first time. And he was obviously trapped in a really bad spot in Phoenix, who have never been historically good,
kind of lucked into a good coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Through all their firings. I mean, I guess you're bound to get one eventually.
They had they had D'Antoni for a while, and with Steve Nash back in the early 2000s, and then
it's been a bunch of nothing.
I don't know how I feel about him. Do I think he'll ever win a championship? I'll do the hot take and just say no. I don't think so. Not unless he makes a super team, or he joins a super team. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah.
But yeah, that's I agree. I mean, like, as a long-term hold, I don't like a lot of basketball, like, long-term right now, because the prices are just nutty, but especially, like, Devin Booker, you're really looking for just a big bump up on a big night, or maybe some potential trade rumors that really could kick it off. But yeah, I agree. It's probably not the best of long-term holds. But moving into kind of an under-the-radar guy. I mean, at this point, he's kind of a well-known commodity. Defenses are kind of sending everyone at him, and that is Duncan Robinson for the Heat, one of my U of M guys, so I'm a little biased here. But what do you think of the projections for his card prices?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. Him and Bam Adebayo, they've been pretty exciting. 2 young guys that have been pretty good, especially when nobody thought anything of the Heat coming into the season. They've both, stepped up, including him with Duncan. He's looked obviously really nice.
Yeah.
Again, Pablo and I are going to sound like a broken record. Alec and I are going to sound like a broken record here. Not to buy basketball cards. But we just feel like it's such a seller's market right now that if
you're buying now, you're selling in a week or two, ideally, right? Like,
it'd be a quick flip if you think something's gonna happen, because long term, not that these prices can't hold up for certain players in certain situations, but just for a lot of these smaller name guys, like even Damian Lillard, who's an all-star and gonna be a Hall of Famer most likely. And it's pretty easy to get the Basketball Hall of Fame. You'll probably get in. It's like, man, are these good? Is it good?
Yeah,
prices?
no, I mean, looking back at I feel like, one second, I gotta let this dog out. Damn it. But yeah, I mean, Duncan Robinson, I feel like the natural comparison probably is like a Kyle Korver. Just some lengthy white dude that can just strap threes and stand out there for you. A lot of off-ball movement, a lot of good things you'd like to see out of someone that's just, trying to drill nothing but threes. But at the end of the day, like, he's not going to ever be creating his own shot or, forcing up enough shots to get the points that people are going to want out of a star. And if you look at, like, Kyle Korver prices, no one really cares. So, I feel like a long-term hold, probably not great at all.
Yeah, his Kyle Korver's Topps Chrome is like $5.
Yeah, I grabbed a few. I've grabbed a few. I was like, man, I mean, I'm not the biggest Kyle Korver fan, but I mean,
I am. He played at Creighton. Let's go. 2 Creighton
Nebraska
guys.
homies.
Two in one podcast. Let's go. But
I didn't even have to. Yeah, you didn't even have to bring it up. I did it
let's
all
go.
Myself. But yeah, I don't know. I love Duncan. His 2018 cards are a little weird. I kind of like him because it's basically like none of his cards were released. He was in the G League, so there's like
that is cool.
a stray Chronicles card or two with autos that you can find on it and some National Treasures. But it's just cool in the sense that there aren't many from that year, though overall I don't like his prospect going forward. And then finally, the last little guy we got here is Gary Trent Jr., kind of doing the same thing, just absolutely strapping threes for the Trailblazers. I'm guessing you're not going to buy?
I mean, man, if they could make a run to win a championship, then yes, probably Gary Trent Jr. would go up here. But, yeah, I mean, obviously this probably wouldn't be the time. Although it is interesting. I don't know. I haven't seen what Carmelo Anthony's prices do, but, like, I feel like just him being at Portland, like, if he were to somehow get a ring with Portland, he's played pretty good, Carmelo Anthony cards would go up. Now, if you were a big Carmelo person or think that's even in the realm of possibility going off the Gary Trent Jr.
We got Dame and Gary Trent on here, and we end up figuring out Carmelo's probably the play.
Yeah.
Although I guess he would have to be pretty far into the playoffs for you to want to buy that, right? Like, they definitely have to make it a round or two through.
Oh, no, he's pretty cheap. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'd have to look at it, but I don't think his cards are too crazy.
Well, I mean, the odds of them winning that, I mean,
pretty. I don't give it a 0.
I don't give it a 0. I give it like a 3.
Yeah, 3 to 5.
3%.
3 to 5%.
I don't know. Once he gets through a round or two, probably means
if they beat the Lakers.
Yeah, exactly. If they beat the Lakers, I don't think people are going to hop on Carmelo.
If they do beat the Lakers, Carmelo's cards would bump anyway.
But are people really? I mean, maybe. I guess if you think enough people. Maybe once Portland gets a game or two, then you gotta see it out of them.
Yeah, if Portland wins a game or two, and you're like, they look really good, and they don't just look good during the bubble games, but they actually look nice, then I might, it'd be pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean they were good. They were obviously a good team last year. Now they have Nurkic, they have the emergence of Gary Trent, and Melo's doing pretty good now. So that's 3 pretty decent additions.
They seem really scary to me. They seem like, I don't know. I'd put them as a top 4 team in the West.
Yeah, I definitely agree that they're
it probably
top
goes
half.
Yeah,
I'd be more scared of them than Denver or the Jazz.
Yeah, I mean, if Denver was healthy, they'd at least be really interesting. I'm sad they're not healthy. They're a really fun team to watch with all they're really deep. They're going to be dangerous in the future too. They got a lot of good young guys.
No, I like the projections of their young guys, but that is it, I guess, as far as our Rising Stocks Player of the Week, basically selling everyone, but somehow buying Carmelo, even though he was not in the list. But, got to find value where you can. In terms of finding value, we'll go into our little Zion comparison segment. I figure, Zion just getting kicked out of the bubble, essentially, and his card price is probably going to start dropping. But at the end of the day, people are still going to be high on Zion because they haven't seen enough of him to not be. So, comparing...
what we have seen is good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people are off the Zion train just because they didn't make the playoffs and he was injured for most of the year. I think that's fair.
Rip JJ Redick, by the way, breaks his he'd made the playoffs every single year he'd been in the NBA until this year. That's tough.
Yeah, that sell Zion for that alone, ruining our boy's streak. But So we'll get into comparing some Zion prices to some, I guess, fellow competitors that are some young up-and-comers overall, people that have proven themselves and people that I guess haven't. So Zion Silver PSA 10 right now, kind of lingering at about $4,500. Obviously, just crazy to say these numbers, but that's about where it's at. I mean, when you think of that, like PSA 10 Topps Chrome LeBron rookie was like $5,000 like a few months back. It's probably closer to 10, above that now, but still like
that's crazy.
That is that is tough, especially when you see like the pop counts from Zion just to like Luka, who was last year. But that is where we're going to start it off at. Zion 4.5 grand ish, and then Luka's PSA 10 silver right now is about $7,000. So that's a pretty crazy comparison. I'm happy to see Luka getting some hype lately and kind of getting up there. What do you think of the price comparison there, 7 to 4.5?
Yeah, I mean, 7K is a lot for a card. But I think Luka's I don't know. I wouldn't say not that he's not worth it, but maybe wait till the offseason. I don't think the Mavs are winning a championship this year. I don't think a lot of people are betting on that though, so I don't know. Maybe it drops like, $500, $600, $800, which obviously that would be worth waiting a little bit until the playoffs drop. But even for Zion, I mean, I think Luka should definitely be the most of this list of people that we are listing off. And, he's already been an all-star now. He's scores a ton of points, and like for career points, he's already on like a nice path to be like top 10 all-time scoring if he just keeps on his train at this point. So
yeah, and doing all that, I mean, this early, I definitely like the card prices and kind of where he's chilling at right now. I think it's definitely reasonable to have Luka over Zion. At the end of the day, I think Zion's insanely overpriced, but that's what comes with hype. That's kind of how it is. I think that obviously Luka's pretty dang expensive right now, but once we get to comparing it to some other guys, I don't know if it's that crazy. So especially when you consider, like I said before, like the Zion pop counts have already reached what the Luka pop counts have been for 2 years. So there's an indication that a lot more Zion out there to be had. So a lot of supply naturally should be a little less prices. So realistically, Zion silvers, if they were same pop as Luka, could be like 6-7K. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I mean, definitely. I guess still value in Luka relative to Zion, but how do you value that with the rest of the market? That's just kind of on everyone's part to figure that out. In terms of another guy that is, been linked with Luka for a long time now, that's Trae Young. Naturally, you get traded to each other in a draft. That's just going to be how it is. And Trae Young, Silver Prizm, PSA 10 right now is lingering at about $1.8 grand. What do you think of that compared to the Zion at 4.6?
Well, I'm going to make people mad, but I am about as low on Trae Young as you could possibly be. He got on my bad side in college when he got into the NCAA championship tournament when he had no business being there with his 18-win team. Yeah, he cut out the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who had won 25 games.
Oh,
and they were fourth. They were fourth in the Big Ten. Like that's the first time the top 4 team in the Big Ten got snipped. Like, just absolutely ridiculous. Like, they beat, and Nebraska beat Michigan there, who ended up going to the championship game.
Hey.
So, what? Yeah, so, a lot of hate.
No, I definitely agree, though. I mean, he's just, Trae being, a third of Luka doesn't make a lot of sense. Trae has not shown anywhere near that.
And, people talking, Trae Young could be, Steph Curry or Damian Lillard. His percentage isn't that good. Cooley's scoring a lot of points, but he's not winning games. And at the end of the day, the NBA is about winning games. I know, believe it or not, that's what competition's about. So post all the stats you want, do all the fun stuff, but if you can't win, then what's the point? So yeah, I'm harsh on poor Trae Young, but I think he's a waste of money.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I'm not a big fan. I mean, just comparing that to Zion, I think Zion's overpriced, but when he's only 2.3 times what Trae Young is. I'm like, oh, well, shit. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not that overpriced. Like, I don't know. But yeah, it's just he'll get good scoring nights, and maybe that's what his card value is all about. It's just people that want to flip it on a big night, and that's cool. But that only works when the market's hot as hell. And
yeah, you're exactly right. And the thing is, like, it's really cool in their freshman and sophomore year, but okay, now as we squeeze into year 3 and 4 and 5, like, it'll be like, well, where's the results? He showed a lot of potential, but where's the wins? You know? And that's going to be the question people are going to start asking is next year and the year after. People are going to be like, well, you're pretty good. Like, again, like Damian Lillard, not just, he's not as expensive as, Trae Young was at, last year, this year. So,
oh, yeah.
Like, that's because it's a results-driven market.
No, yeah. I mean, like last week we compared Dame Lillard prices at PSA 10 silvers, and those were like $5,000. And I mean, Trae Young being $2,000 and a lot, like way more pop, Yeah. So in theory, those are probably again close if you make the pops even, and it's like that's not close. Like Dame actually can carry a team, and even if he can't carry him to a ring, like I just don't see that with Trae at all. So I feel comfortable thinking that it would be a bad purchase to grab a Trae Young. But I mean, I guess people think there might be value just because he hasn't played and hasn't seen much going on. But at the end of the day, like we both said, it's probably not the case. So moving on to another little point guard that is shown that he can actually maybe make his team win a little bit more. Granted, more pieces around him, but that is Ja Morant. He is at 2,800 for PSA 10 silver. Again, comparing that to Zion's 4,600, little under half as much. So, or a little more than half as much. So, what do you think of Ja Morant at 2,800?
I mean, obviously too much because he's going to drop down a little bit next year, but I mean, I'm not completely off him. He was really fun to watch in college and was super exciting and almost as big coming into the tournament as Zion was on just excitement. Like, just, Duke had, like, so many good players they were more talked about. But, Ja Morant was really exciting at Murray State. And I love the fact that, he can pass the ball a lot, that he can get really good assist numbers as well. He's obviously going to have to keep developing a shot, and that athleticism fades away, but if he can continue to gain the skills, he's got good handles. As long as he can, it's kind of the same thing with Trae Young, except maybe a little less. Trae Young turns it over a lot more than Ja Morant does, and Ja's a freshman, so
yeah,
I definitely I think he's interesting. If it was obviously 2,800 is a lot. Just buy it raw, guys, and then grade it yourself.
Yeah,
buy like
exactly.
3
You're probably
raw
getting a
and grade
9.
yourself.
You're probably getting a 9, and best case, you got a 10. Boom.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. But yeah, I mean, comparing Ja to Zion, like I feel like that's pretty respectable. I don't really have a say either way. I probably again would lean Ja just because I lean that far off of Zion and the risk you have with him. But like comparing Ja to Trae, like I think I'm not really even a big Ja guy, but I think 1,000 more than Trae is definitely justifiable, given that Trae hasn't shown any ability to lead his team, while Ja's doing that with kind of more vets around him that, allow him to flourish. And I guess in theory a team that's more built for him, but even then the Hawks have been trying to help build a team around Trae Young for a little while now and kind of cater it towards his liking, and it still hasn't meant much. So I do like Ja. And then as far as our last guy, just a little center thrown in that has kind of been on the up-and-coming Suns, and that is DeAndre Ayton. His PSA 10 silver is about $500 right now, which is a lot more reasonable, or I guess attainable than these $500. So I mean, what do you think?
I mean, it's definitely interesting, especially if it goes down, like where it's like, $250 or whatever for him or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's not crazy. I mean, obviously, I don't know. DeAndre Ayton's been able to play basketball seasons, like versus Zion. Like, he's only averaging 19, but Zion was, averaging like 23 or something like that with, when he did play, and that's, a small sample size. Like, obviously Zion is way more exciting and has way more upside than DeAndre Ayton has, but DeAndre Ayton's been good and solid. So
yeah, I think if you compare like Zion on a downswing to where Ayton could be on a moderate upswing, like that, probably moderately comparable price wise. So I feel like while I am not a huge Ayton fan. When you say that he's 9 times less than what Zion is, it's like, man, I don't have that type of faith in Zion becoming that transcendent player. And I mean, people have kind of started to, the market, I guess, has kind of priced out some people to where they're leaning a little bit more towards centers than they probably should be. But I think that gives DeAndre Ayton a little bit of a potential bump if he starts showing some good promise. And, you know, there aren't many centers around the league that are doing what he can do, I guess, at that young of an age. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's exciting. I mean, I believe that if Zion can get healthy and lose 20 pounds, I think he can be a transcendent player. But,
yeah.
you know, I think what a lot of people forget, again, is Shaq was dominant for like 12 years and stayed healthy most of the time. Like, Shaq was putting up ridiculous numbers, and he did it over a long, extended period of time. Not just you know, that run with the Lakers. Like, he was with the Magic for like 4 years, 4 years. He was with them for 4 years, then went to the Magic, then just dominated, and then went to the Heat, and then helped Dwayne Wade win a championship. Like, you know, can Zion Williamson come into the league, take the Orlando Magic? You know, granted they did have Penny, but still, then take the Orlando Magic to the finals. Go to the Lakers, win 3 Finals MVPs, have the you know, lose only 1 game in the playoffs. Again, he did have Kobe, but still, I mean, and Shaq was like consensus best player in the NBA for like 7 years. Can Zion do that? And that's the expectations they have. And
and that's where he's priced at essentially right now.
And yeah, like he's priced at that. And are you going to bet on that? Like, that's tough. That's tough.
I definitely agree. I think that's, you know, a lot like the last segment of the Rising Stocks players. Again, this time we kind of found that maybe Shaq's just where to go. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to spend $5K on a Zion Silver that has tons of pop, like, I mean, obviously, I guess the Shaq ones
just get the real deal. Just go get the Shaq.
Yeah, get what you think he could be, and that's what he was, and that's already something that's 20 years, you know, appreciated. So. Yeah, I agree. I think out of this whole thing, the buy is Shaq. So we'll have to do that in the future. And in terms of a little past and present card pricing, obviously they're not the same build of players, and you're not expecting the same exact thing out of them. But like that's the cultural figure and maybe the potential that you're kind of expecting out of both of them, right? So probably a good shout to do in the future. But in terms of taking a look back in time at the past and present of cards, we're going to do that right now. Caleb's got a little comparison, so you want to introduce it to us?
Yeah, so I was in my thinking about who to do for past and present. I chose Reggie Miller versus Klay Thompson. I thought it'd be pretty interesting. Obviously, Reggie, he's right behind Ray Allen for, you know, most 3-pointers in the career all time, and Reggie's kind of stayed more popularly, you know, culturally relevant by being on, you know, on TV and color commentating the games, and I think he does a really good job with it. So he's fun to listen to. But I think that definitely helps in the long run, just with cards too.
Yeah, makes sense to compare these two.
His rookie was the 1988 Fleer. I picked one of these up for like $12 raw, like a few months ago. Stupid cheap.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be looking at his PSA 10. There's only 151 of these. Now, obviously, in 88, the centering was super bad. And for like left, right, top, and bottom, like you can just get the wonkiest looking ones. So
like Optic, 20 like Optic recently. He's just thinking they're all over the place.
It is a not easy centering card to get. It's actually notorious. It's notorious for it. So there's only 151, but that's really low. Actually that blew my mind that there was only that many. The last sold listing I saw was from July 22nd from PWCC, and it was for $1,554, which is pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, geez, when you only have 150 of them too.
Yeah, like it doesn't. It's not that out of the blue, like, you know. And Reggie's already a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
So you could buy a Trae Young for $300 more, or you could get a PSA 10 Reggie for 300.
Pop 151. What do you think the pop is on some Trae Young?
The Trae Young 10s, like 10,000, 20,000.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. And then Clay, obviously one of the other greatest shooters of all time, holds the record right now. It'll change probably, but for most three-pointers in a game with 14, which was sick. And also he has the record for most points in a single quarter with 37. Ew.
Ugh.
It's absolutely disgusting. But his 2012 Prizm, which, asterisk around his rookie year, 2011 they really didn't make basketball cards. So there was just like authentic SP was the only actual 2011. So Clay and Kawhi didn't really have rookie cards. So it's like 2012 is considered for a lot of cards like their rookie. But
yeah,
that
makes sense, especially with the Prizm, like how much people love that. So
yeah, no, yeah. So for 2012 Prizm, there's 6,179 tens, and the last one sold for $1,050 on August 11th. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think this is pretty comparable to people, or?
I think the players are definitely comparable. I mean, obviously with Clay you have the championships, and that's what's going to make it. And I guess he's definitely in a more marketable area, and just in a time where he could be marketed better. I mean, Reggie is just chilling out in Indiana, so you're probably not going to have the same fandom behind it. But when you compare the pops, I mean, having basically 40 times as many Clay Prizms to compare to the Fleer, and man, that is tough. It definitely gives you some good insight as far as where that can be. And I mean, Clay isn't even the main guy on that team, obviously. So, you could get a main star on a team that didn't win, or a second guy on a team that did win. And I mean, seeing those pops and being around the same price, it definitely makes you think about Reggie a little bit. I mean, I don't have the wallet to be opening up for a PSA 10, but maybe you grab yourself a 9 or an 8. I mean, you could get that for pretty affordable prices. And compare it to the crazy Prizm pop counts that you see, man, that's actually probably a pretty good play. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, Pablo and I are always looking at vintage, just in a lot of people being slaves to the moment, not really wanting to look back. Just, they want to get the next thing with Trae Young or Ja or Zion. Everybody's looking to that. But, there's some pretty affordable prices on some, big legends if you're willing to look back a little bit. So.
Oh, yeah. Basketball doesn't have the same, fandom back then, obviously, that it does now. But even then, the people that are watching now will continue to watch for a long time, and they'll gain some history on what happened back then. People love docs. People love YouTube videos. They'll see enough to where they'll be intrigued on some of that stuff. So I definitely think while there isn't the and I guess that's what people get caught up in. They get caught up in the immediate flip kind of returns that you can get. But, you want to keep a decent amount of your money in some things that you like long-term that you don't feel too bad about owning, as if there's not too much risk. So I definitely agree. I like the Reggie pick. That was nice. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how close they are on points per game. Reggie ended up with 18.2, but obviously, as you get older, it's just naturally drops a little bit.
Yeah, different era too, a little bit.
Yeah, Clay was at 19.5 points per game. So.
Yeah. No, I definitely like the comp. I think it gives us some good perspective, and that's what this is all about. Just kind of comparing what happened then, what happens now, and give you some insight on maybe where these card prices could go in the future if demand were to lessen in theory. So that was a good little segment. Appreciate you looking that up and figuring that all out, and we'll definitely look to do more of these because they're always the most insightful, I feel like. But for now, if you guys are watching the YouTube video this far in, I commend you. A little over an hour of, about an hour on into the pod. Having
Let's
a good
pump
time
Reggie
talking about it.
Let's pump Reggie prices, guys.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I got tons of. I actually have all 151 of those PSA 10s. So if you guys want to go buy them, list it all over my eBay. But as far as, if you guys want to engage with us, feel free to comment and like. And also, if you want to subscribe, go ahead. I'm not forcing your hand, but if you're enjoying, why not? And helps us grow, helps us gather more of a community that we can reach out to and get their ideas on cards. I'd love to hear what anyone has to say. I try to connect on our Instagram, and we're always commenting and responding to any comments we get there. So no doubt, it's definitely a good time trying to connect with everyone. As far as people that we're going to connect with in a bad way, I guess now, we're going to go with our Out for Blood segment where we just kind of roast a few different people. And, yeah, I mean, we're not going to feel bad about it. It's just what has to happen. So I guess I'll start because, I mean, it's kind of related to what we just talked about. But essentially, I'm roasting people that just don't look at vintage because, like we just stated, essentially, if you look back, you can see where some of these prices can be in the future if people don't hop on the bandwagon like everyone's hopping on right now. If there isn't that like staying desire to have some of these cards like there is for obviously, the legends like MJ and whatnot, they can kind of just fall into oblivion. And I don't really think that people understand that whenever they buy cards in this market. Everyone just sees it as, if this guy hits big, I make a ton of money. And if he doesn't, I just sell. But what happens when you've already lost, 5x what you spent? Like, your things diminish 20, 80%, like, just because you've held on to him and hoped he did well. And by year 5, he's nothing, Long term, that card's not going to do much because once he's out of the limelight, no one really cares. And like Reggie Miller, that's someone that people would actually care about. So it's like, it's tough, man. I don't know. I have no hope for people that don't look at vintage. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I mean, you got to educate yourself a little bit in that regard.
No, I mean, for sure. And, I mean, not only for price comparisons and being able to say, oh, if I look at it this way, with this player, he kind of did this. This is what his prices are at now. Let's look at this guy and kind of compare. It really gives you a nice roadmap for, like Alec was saying, just where to map out the future and, and have a good say of, if this, if this player does this, then the card will probably be this, or if he doesn't, then it's that. So, and just pop counts, low pop counts. I don't think that there's no room for like old cards to grow because if demand ever happens for a Reggie Miller, say a doc comes out about him or something, there's only 151 of those PSA 10s. Like, that's crazy.
You saw what the MJ doc did to those. I mean, obviously it's MJ, but there's plenty of those. So
exactly. And there was way more graded to that. And so it'll be like a mad scramble. And, there's obviously a lot better players, too, than Reggie that are still, like, way undervalued. Again, for that 88 Flair, we saw what happened with Dennis Rodman and Pippen. That was also their rookies. And, like, those cards went nuts, too. So,
yeah, definitely
always be educating yourself. Try to find something new out about cards. And maybe you'll figure out something we don't know, and then you can make a bunch of money.
Easy.
Oh man, now it's my first roast. Ooh,
yeah,
I'm excited. I'm roasting LeBron stans who are purchasing his cards right now in the bubble. Are you kidding me? Why would you be wasting money like this? He's literally at the height of excitement right now. He's at the Lakers, which is way more marketable. And guys, I hate to break to you, he's probably not winning the championship. There's way better teams. And people, I don't know, they're buying this card like he's going to win the championship, like they can write it in. And, I just want to keep saying the Western Conference is a lot tougher to win than the Eastern Conference. And he's going to face a lot more big challenges. Like, he's not facing the Brooklyn Nets first round like he was, in Cleveland, or, like he wasn't facing those bad teams. Toronto wasn't just giving up their life with DeMar DeRozan to let LeBron just walk through to the finals. Like, he's going to have to play some really good teams. And I don't know.
I agree. I mean, like we say with all these NBA guys, it's a bubble. It's granted inside the bubble as well, but it's just almost every single one of them is going to lose. And at the end of the day, even the winners, one championship isn't going to change the trajectory of your career unless it's your first, like someone like Dame or something. Like, I get that a little bit, but LeBron getting another championship, like, sure, cool, but still MJ stands are still going to be like 6, bitch, and that's just it. Like, it doesn't
and that's
matter.
the whole discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't change anything, I feel like. So to think that, just because he gets one more, like maybe momentarily there's hype. And if you sell before it starts to dip post-win, then, all the better to you. But again, there's 5 to 10 months until we start actually getting hype in the NBA again. So to think that, you're going to get good return on this, and that's it at the end of the day. Maybe his prices go up a little bit long term, even if he wins or whatever, but like, you could get so much better returns elsewhere. So I definitely agree. Yeah.
And again, he has so many different rookie cards. That's the thing. Like, fun enough, plug in the Instagram. I posted a LeBron James rookie card on Instagram. That's like $20, but it's an actual legit card that's from Topps. Like there's plenty of different LeBron James rookie cards where, for, Reggie, there's just one. Or obviously, I do think long term the Topps Chrome is definitely. I don't hate the play, but, I don't, because a lot of people love LeBron, and he's such a big cultural figure and a great basketball player. Like, I don't think it's a bad play, but right now it is, because it's going to go down a couple $1,000 probably after these playoffs are done, like, even if he wins, like, so.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely an agreement there. As much as I love LeBron, I can't defend it. And speaking of people that can't defend something that they vehemently wish they could, Paul George coming on in here. Basically, I don't know. I mean, it's not as much roasting like Paul George card owners, but I guess that maybe a little bit of that too. Paul George just is not a likable superstar in my eyes. Like, hopping from team to team, kind of whatever the next ship is, just, going wherever the wind takes him. Not really something people are going to be into long term, not something that's memorable. Even if he wins on the Clippers, no one's a Clippers fan. You're you might just not hate LeBron, and that's okay. You just root for them for that. But no one's, and even if they do win, Kawhi's getting the shine. So to think that Paul George cards, I guess, are a long-term play, I don't believe in that at all. And I also don't believe in Paul George just going at Dame and just being like, I don't know. He's had that vendetta ever since that shot, man, and it's rough. I don't get it.
My favorite thing about Paul George is remember he had the Gatorade commercial where he hit the buzzer beater?
Yeah.
The funny thing is he had never hit a buzzer beater, like, when that commercial came out. And so, like, I just remember just laughing. Like, the dude's never hit a buzzer beater in the NBA, but here's Gatorade paying him money for a buzzer beater shot. Like,
oh, there you go. He got one. He got his. But, yeah, I don't know. Just the Dame, Paul George kind of beef. I'm definitely on Dame's side, and I've laughed at Paul George ever since that. That was a bad shot. People will remember that as a bad shot. It's like, no, I won't, because Dame literally, like you watched yesterday against the Nets, that's all he's doing. He's just pulling up from anywhere. Yeah, along the same lines. Like, I don't like him as a player. I don't like his swagger that he holds himself with, his personality. Like, there's just nothing about him that's likable. So, I guess I'll just throw him in the old roaster for that one.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like, cool. He went to the Eastern Conference Finals once with the Pacers. Mm-hmm. Like, that's about it. Like, he's not really that exciting. He's never won an MVP. He's never led the league in scoring. Like,
but he latched on to Kawhi for a season.
Yeah, and he tried to win with. He's been ring chasing. He tried to ring chase with Russ. Like,
yikes! Imagine doing that.
Yeah, imagine thinking it was a good idea to ring chase with Russell Westbrook.
Maybe you'll let me shoot a little bit.
KD didn't like playing with him, but I can do it. I can win.
KD's a little snake. He probably couldn't handle it.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's tough, but
yeah.
You got your last roast? You gonna roast some boys?
Yeah, my last roast is people who aren't using Instagram. Man, I've learned I wasn't using Instagram, so I need to roast myself. I wasn't doing it, and I've learned so much in these last couple weeks scrolling on it. I see a bunch of cool cards. I'm like, I think I need that. It's just a great education tool. You get to see a lot of cool stuff, meet a lot of cool people, and yeah, I've seen. My quest has been complete for a soccer card, but I found it on Instagram. Yeah,
that's where they can all stem from. It's nice. I mean, at the end of the day, like you might find these cards hanging out in a Discord. You might find these cards hanging out on eBay, just kind of randomly searching. But I mean, the way you're gonna find tons of cards that you have no clue what you're even getting into is just scrolling through that Insta and just you can sit there, like people's posts, give them a little comment, engage with people, and then also at the same time you're just getting a ton of ideas for cool cards. So I definitely agree. If you're not using Insta, I mean, really, what are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, again, because you can hopefully find a card before it pops. Somebody posts it, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. I need that, and you can kind of sneak in before because you're talking to people who are engrossed in the hobby enough to post daily pictures and talk about it. So.
Yeah, they give you a little rationale and whatnot, too. As far as roasting ourselves, I guess, we roast ourselves for the last ones, but I want to roast myself a little bit for not believing in the Ronaldo and Messi Prizms. I don't know. I'm not a Prizm head. I understand the Prizm hype. I get it. I'm honestly kind of just afraid to capitalize on it because I'm too safe with my money. I just would rather have cards that I feel like long-term, even if shit hits the fan, I feel like they're still good cards that have staying power. And by no means do I think that Ronaldo and Messi 10th year Prizms, 12th year Prizms have that staying power. But, if you can kind of predict where people are going to flood into, it really makes a ton of sense that people would their gateway into soccer cards would be Messi and Ronaldo Prizms because the main thing they know coming from basketball is Prizm, and the main people they know are Messi and Ronaldo. So it's like, I don't know why I couldn't put that together in my head and actually just, pull the trigger because these things used to be, they used to be a few bucks, but whenever I'm looking, like, there's $10-$30 somewhere in there, and now they are, they're up to 200 easily a piece, and you start grading them. I mean, we're talking dumb numbers at that point, but I think that's just because there aren't enough graded right now. But yeah, a little roast to myself there. I don't think, you came into soccer a little later, but I don't think that was really on your radar.
I bought the second year Prizms, so I have the 2018 World Cup ones because I was like, it was like $80. I'm like, that's too much. I can't do it. So
a little hedge.
But I was very wrong. And now also those Prizms that I bought, they're worth like $7,500. I haven't looked in a bit. So.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. You can kind of, whenever you see something start to pop and you're not really sure and you don't want to take that risk, you can always kind of maybe go to the next thing that could follow that if it continues to lead that way. Another good example is like 2004 Messi and Ronaldo, like Panini cards. They started to really pop, and if you believed in those even a little bit, you could start to grab the stickers that would probably move with them. So. Just cutting in real quick, it's actually 2006, the World Cup year stickers and cards that I'm talking about, not 2004. That's Messi's rookie year. Even if you end up messing up on something, it's not the end-all, be-all. You can still figure out another way if you'd like to. So, I don't know.
There's always a next thing. That's the nice thing about cards, especially right now. I mean, it's going to get harder, but, at the same time, new sets are going to come out, and somebody's always going to miss. You're going to see something that somebody else isn't, and so... As long as you're always looking for those angles, We can't kick ourselves too hard. Although, we could have made like a lot of money if we would have just bought some. I remember seeing like lots of 4 for like a couple $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, sucks. Man, those are 10, 12-year cards. Why would I spend $50 a card? But now they're $200. So, I guess that's why you do it. But I'll still say now I still wouldn't be investing in them. Maybe I'll look back on myself in a month and still be disappointed. But at the end of the day, the rising tide floats all the boats. So you just move around in soccer, and eventually where the people go from there, hopefully you can be where they're going to go. But moving on to a little bit more positive news, we got some couple picks and ditches of the week. So, Caleb, you want to start it off with what you're picking?
Yeah, as basketball is ending, and there's one team that's not been in the bubble that under normal circumstance would be, and that's the Warriors. So I really, really like Steph Curry rookie cards. Man, I think they're so undervalued. Like, it's crazy. Like James Harden rookie cards were kind of creeping up toward his numbers. So I really like his Panini ones too. There's kind of a few different ones, but the ones where he's in his Warriors gear, not the Davidson gear, not that that's bad, but just people like the Warrior. He played for the Warriors. He's won the championships with the Warriors. People are going to attend. Yeah. Obviously, he was an absolute stud at Davidson too. A shot away from beating the then who won the national championship Kansas Jayhawks. They lost by a point. Like, disgusting. But how did people not realize he was going to be good? Like, that just blows my mind. Like,
Oh yeah.
like if you do that in the if you just absolutely tear up the NCAA like that. But anyway, I think his rookies are really cheap still, and especially once the playoffs end and all basketball hype is kind of vanished for a minute, I think it'd be a really solid pickup just because, again, he hasn't been playing much basketball this season, and yeah, once that hype's down, I think there's going to be a lot of room for that to grow.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I think there's comparing, like we were talking about, PSA 10 silvers that are just dumb pop counts that are 5,000 easily for players that are not even established. So
Yeah.
big agree. I think that, at the end of the day, if you can get people at all in this market that have been out of the spotlight, that is the way to go. And that kind of transitions me into my next pick, and that is João Felix. He, I guess I made up this pick before the Champions League game, but he didn't do anything too crazy in the Champions League game. He had a little bump up. He got a penalty, he scored the penalty. And, if you watch the game, like, Atletico's entire offense changed when he came on. They really had no threat at all, and then suddenly it's hard to compare him to Mbappe because everyone loves Mbappe. He won a World Cup. People love his prices, and I guess they're all about it. But, it's the same type of thing whenever you put him on the field. Like, it entirely changed when he was put on. Neymar couldn't. He had opportunities, but he wasn't doing the deal, and at the end of the day, like, just so much flows through them and their ability. Like, I just feel like João Felix is underrated. You start comparing him to, I love American hype, but if you compare to João Felix at Topps Chrome to like a Weston McKennie, Optic Hollow or something. Just the prices in soccer right now are a bit wonky, and João Felix is someone that 4 months ago, a lot of people in soccer kind of just had moderately high hopes for. He's been a little rough this year, but Atletico Madrid they play a style that doesn't allow offense to thrive, so you're not necessarily going to see, I guess, what you would want out of someone, but that doesn't mean the talent's there. It's just the press. So I definitely like him. I think he's a good pickup. He also has some autos that have come out recently, but that aren't even that expensive. If you think about it, what would be, like, if there was first year autos for Messi and Ronaldo? Those things would be like insane, right? Yeah, probably, and you can pick these up for like $200 probably. Yeah. Granted, he would have to get to that point of stardom, but in every generation of fandom, there's going to be a couple stars, so it's all about just finding who that is. And yeah, his ceiling is just insane, and I love it. And speaking of insane ceilings, got a little latch-on pick, and that is Sean O'Malley. He fights this weekend as a co-main for the UFC event. We don't talk much UFC, but I sprinkled it into both my picks the last 2 weeks. But
let's go.
Yeah, I do what I can. He's been absolutely nuts. Just the hype that he is building for himself and the hype that he could continue to build is immense. His knockouts are sick. His style of fighting is essentially just knockout style and can almost knock people out or submit them in almost any way. So I feel like it's definitely the play. Probably the ideal play is not to go for first-year cards because they've been kind of picked up a lot. I think UFC just doesn't have anywhere near the supply that you would like out of some people, and typically it's not going to matter because not enough people are going to be picking up UFC cards. But if you get someone that actually pops, then it's definitely going to matter. So second-year auto is probably the play as far as where I would go. Mm-hmm. And, honestly, if you want to watch the fight Saturday night, it'll be co-main. And that also shows the UFC's hype in this guy. Like, he's just breaking into the rankings, essentially, and he's not even fighting like a real ranked guy, and he's in the co-main because they know that this man can put on a show. So if you see him put on a show this weekend, just hop on eBay real quick, pick yourself up a nice little auto second year, and you'll probably be looking good in the future.
Oh, love some UFC fights. I love all sports that are continuing to play.
Oh, yeah.
and
just
anyway,
happy to have them.
Give me some content. Let's go. Now I guess we're hopping into the ditches now. Ooh.
Yeah. Gotta be sad.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm just going to take a hot take on Topps Chrome Soccer. I think in the short term, sure, if you like some guys, but I don't think in the long term it's that exciting. Just on the fact that worldwide, Panini is the brand for soccer cards. You're not seeing Topps because it really didn't exist before 2017-18. So I just think that Panini is way more established and has been, for decades now inside of soccer, that I think that it's just a way better play in the long run.
No, that makes sense. I would agree typically. I mean, there's obviously some spots that you can make it work, but overall, I mean, literally, like, everything's Panini, so to think that these people would suddenly want to switch on over to a different style doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, and I don't think Topps Chrome looks that nice on the soccer cards, if I'm being honest, either. It's just not the right fit. So that's my ditch. What about you?
I mean, gotta ditch something. Can't be hoarding everything, so
can't be a loot goblin all the time.
Do what you can. But as far as another ditch, I mean, kind of harp on this every now and then, but just talking third tier guys on a team that might win a championship, the one that comes to mind is Kyle Kuzma. Just a bunch of people kind of hyping him up. He's been hyped up for a good bit now, and maybe as we get into the playoffs, people will try to convince themselves even more that if the Lakers win a ring, somehow Kyle Kuzma cards should be valued well, but I just don't think that's the case. Like we were talking about it earlier, there's Draymond Green Prizms, first year Prizms that just are, not worth much of anything. Like, they're $100, maybe $80 for PSA 9. So it's just
Kyle
like
Kuzma, he feels like Gary Trent Jr. except like not as exciting.
Oh yeah, it makes you shake your head because he's just taking shots. It's like, oh my goodness, dude, you're on the Lakers with two dudes around you that could carry, and then you got this guy just jacking them. But it's like, no one's gonna ever remember the third tier guy. Maybe some collectors.
Only if it's a dynasty.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I honestly feel like that Draymond's underrated because if people are gonna get the Steph and the Clay, they're probably gonna grab a Draymond. I mean, why wouldn't you? And
yeah.
I mean, Kevin Love. Who thinks of Kevin Love when they're like, oh man, I want to buy some cards? Like no one's climbing up the Kevin Love tree. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. With those third tier guys, it really has to be something that's going to be going on for a while. I would agree there, and I don't think the Lakers are going to put up a dynasty at this point. So, yeah, probably a good place to sell. I really wouldn't want to take that into the offseason, especially after a Lakers loss potentially, and maybe even Kuzma not looking good in the playoffs. Could really be something that might be shaken up in the future, not in a good way. So. Yeah, that is going to be my ditch of the week as far as this pod. I think that's what we're going to call it, about an hour and a half. I mean, it's a good time. I had a good time talking. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening. And, we can do this again next week. We'll try to aim to get these up on Thursdays or Fridays and kind of give you something to look forward to going into the weekend and something that you can listen to before you get to spending. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. If you got anything you want to tell us, you can also feel free to in the comments down below and subscribe to the channel for more. And obviously we got our Instagrams. I'm at Cutting Edge Cards with no G in the cutting, and Caleb,
I'm at Caleb _sports _cards.
Hey, there we go. But yeah, we both had a good time, and hopefully you guys enjoyed listening.
Goodbye. I'm out. Woo. Dab.
Damn on the heaters. Off we go into our sunset. Time to open back up the wallets.